Welcome back to the W number, guys. I see a few people popping in. I'm already here. I'm already in the studio. So I said, fuck it, let's go. Let's go. George M, what's the word, man? Alex, how you guys doing tonight? We'll wait for a few people to get in here real quick. And I'm gonna drop a couple of dimes on you real quick. Not dimes, what the fuck? A couple of jewels, man. I'm stuck in that last video, bro. It was like fucking crazy, man. The reason why I took it down, there was a few different things that happened, and it was like it wasn't feeling comfortable with the whole fucking thing, bro. So I just, people hit me up, were like, hey, Maddie this, Maddie that. And I say, you know what, man, it's probably better that I just take this down. Any type of negativity that comes to me due to my podcast and the things that I do on here, I'm good, bro. Like, I don't need that in my life. This is about positivity, changing things around, doing the right thing. And, when anything starts to attach to me like that, I'm good, bro. So that's the end of that. But I'm going to edit it up and do some things to it, make some changes, and we'll maybe put it back up. We'll see how that goes. But until then, man, how's everybody doing tonight, man? Low red eyes, the dusty truth, right? Whoa, bro, right? I did not mean to say that. Shit, that's what happens, man. I've been so fucking flustered lately, and I've actually considered even telling a little bit about what's going on about, my own situation in my life right now. It's just such a rocky situation, man. Like, so I'll let you guys know since shit's fucking crazy anyways, right? So I had gone to a little fight with my girl, and we ended up moving out from each other. Like, we broke apart for a couple minutes, and I ended up moving in and renting from somebody. Now, the person I rented from, regardless of what type of mother they are, regardless of the type of person they are, um, something happened and the baby drowned in the bathtub of the house that I was renting at. I didn't feel comfortable there anymore, so I moved out. Started getting harassed and also and just some more shit. It was just crazy. So I cut ties with all that shit. I'm leaving it behind. See, that's the thing. It's like nowadays in my life, all this shit happens around me, and it's really like it's happening around me. I didn't do anything to make it worse or make it better. I just didn't do anything at all. It was just like, I just all I can control is me and how I deal with situations. You know what I mean? They come as they come, and I deal with them however I deal with them. I don't need luck in my life anymore. I have Jesus. He kind of, guides me to the right way. And that's really all I can ask for. And, as rough as it can get, I've been through worse, man. I've been through things in my life like that make this feel like, okay, these are my troubles. These are champagne problems now, bro. Like, I don't have to deal with none of that bullshit anymore. Like, I'm free. You could walk away. You could stand and fight. You could do whatever you want, bro. That's the beauty of being free is you have options now, right? But I didn't always have options, especially like with the topic we're going to get into tonight. And I can only share my experiences on this, man, gangs, bro, and how gangs have now taken a different seat in the car, bro. Like, so you go to prison and it used to be like neighborhoods. It used to be the white dudes, the black dudes, the Spanish dudes in Massachusetts, anyways, right? Because I've never been in another state, but I do know that in Massachusetts, even since I was a little kid, gangs have been the way, right? They weren't, when I got to the max, the older white dudes that were there would always tell me, like, yo, dude, it's your people or nobody. Like, the white dudes, you stick together. White dudes are a gang in the max, right? And so this is from a white guy's perspective on gangs and the things that have happened to me in my life involving them, right? And I ended up being involved in some people that I would call my family. And now I've heard recently also another person underneath the video I made with my boy that was a Latin King, saying that his people are not a gang, they're a family, this, that, and the other thing. And I guess no matter how you look at it, right? Yeah, they could be your family, but anywhere there's like structure or somebody telling you what to do can be considered as a gang when there's more than one person, and the mentality is like infectious. You know what I mean? That to me is kind of like a gang where other people's leanings and views and the way they handle shit, that's the way you're gonna be. Because it's like going against the grain when it comes to something like that is it can be a deadly thing to do. You know what I mean? You're not gonna go against the grain and walk out on top, bro. Like, unless you're just a straight up boss, then you make your own rules and dudes follow you, bro. But most of the time I've learned that people that are in the gangs, they're kind of going along to get along, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of younger kids now. Like, most of these younger kids coming in have never even heard about being on your own, like being rolling dolo and standing on your own 10 toes and doing it by yourself, like fair ones, man. These things are like lost man, they're lost concepts on people. Like you get into prison now, there's no such thing as fair ones. Dudes are gonna win or they're not gonna fight. It's like it's kind of whack, bro. And there's a lot of things have changed since the first day I walked into prison until the last day I walked out. I'll get into a bunch of it today. I kind of want to interact with the chat real quick, man, and see how everybody's doing. Let's go, let go and let God. You already know, Danny. I'm assuming that's D, my friend D, that's been on here. Yeah, it's sad, man. It can be, you know. But that's in I don't want to be too harsh on dudes that are in gangs either, man, because obviously I've been involved in one too. I'm a boyo. I've never claimed not to be. I just, you know, it is what it is. I got down with them, and they're my friends. They were like a family to me. They still are. A lot of dudes are still like my family. I still talk to them to this day. We don't have the structure and shit like that you would see in a normal gang where people are calling shots and, you know what I mean, the words coming on down from up top and shit, right? But sharing my experience and the way that it's happened for me coming into DYS or juvie as a young kid, I was coming from the Cape. You know what I mean? I was a skateboarder, bro. Like I went in there as somebody had no experience with even so much as inner city, just like what goes on in there, like the pressures that you deal with from being in the city. And it's kind of like a little city inside there. You know what I mean? You got people from every area, every walk of life. But for the most part, the mindset is what you get out of it, right? The mindset is all the same. Dudes click up, and whether they do it for safety, that's like the common belief is that people go in, they get in a gang, and it's for safety. It's like safety in numbers, or you know, they have, I don't know, makes them feel comfortable. It goes against human nature to feel uncomfortable. You don't want to feel uncomfortable. And to be honest, even with things like this, where I've never dealt with social media in my life before until I got out on this from this last sentence. And I've never really put myself out there the way I am now, but I think that it's beneficial in so many ways and it could help people in so many ways, right? Just knowing, you know what I mean? Not for nothing, but it's entertaining too. Like just hearing the war stories, the gang fights, and just the way shit runs in there, bro. That's the type of shit that people want to hear. And it's like, you know, who am I to hold that out on you, man? But yeah, so when I walked in the doors as in juvie, like I go in there, it doesn't matter really. You going in there for anything, robberies, bank robberies, murders, whatever. You could be in there for something stupid like violating your probation, whatever. Everybody gets pretty much mashed in together when you're a kid. I went to a long-term facility as a young kid. My first program was a 8 to 13 month or more program for juvenile offenders and people like that, like people that were going to be committed until the age of 21. So we had kids in that program that were older than 18, that were, you know, 20, 19 years old. These kids were older, right? And I went in at such a young age. 13 years old is a very young age to go in. I was a small kid. I was actually the youngest kid in there. And the only way I knew how to survive was to watch, see how other dudes are doing it, and to fight back. And I did the best I could. But at the same time, you know, the pressure is to be accepted. The pressure is to become that convict. Even at that age, you know, that's the mentality. You go in there and you're going to be going along to get along. I mean, it's not like you're doing something that's unnatural to you or whatever. Like you're living like that in the streets. I mean, people have that same mentality on the streets before they even go in. But when you go in, it's amplified. It's such a small setting and everybody's eyes are always on you. They want to see what you're doing, how you're moving. If you could be a potential step up for them or a stripe for them, because, you know, in there, dudes are looking for stripes. Dudes are looking to make a name. They're looking for, you know, is this there's dirt on this one? Is that dude dirty? Is this one no good? Or, you know, what can we do today? It's like what is it, boredom or idle hands of the devil's playthings. It's exactly what it is, man, especially in the max, right? So as a kid, that's what it is, bro, right? You go in there and the accepted way is to either already be in a gang coming from the streets, and those are the kids that are cool, the ones that were running with the gangs that already had some status on the streets, probably, you know, did whatever they did to get that out there, to get that reputation, and they come into the jail, you know, furthering that reputation or whatever they was up to. And it only gets worse from there. Like I went in with such a low low threshold for, let's say, violence and things like that, right? So fist fights and stabbings, yeah, I could see it. I was doing it, whatever. But like you see the most crazy violence in there, right? Like up close, personal. We don't have guns where you can stand 20 feet away, shoot somebody. It's up close and personal. You got steel, you got weapons, you're going face to face, up close, blood on you, like you're getting it in. And that's the gladiator lifestyle that we want to live. Like it's almost like you want it, but you don't at the same time. If that makes any sense at all. Like I didn't have the same tendencies. Put it this way, right? When I got out, it was a lot easier for me to knock a dude out or a lot easier for me to stab whatever it was. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel as crazy to me. You know what I mean? Just being in there, surrounded by it, that being the accepted way of life for so long, and then getting out to a world where if you hook off on somebody or beat them up as bad like that, like you do in prison, everybody's going to look at you like, whoa, bro, why would you do that? Why would you go so hard? Like, what are you thinking, man? It's not like that out here, bro. He's like, whoa, he just called me a bitch, bro. He said he's gonna kill me if he sees me, something like that. And it's like, that's that's the type of thinking that you have getting out of there. But it was like I was so stuck in it when I got out, like, and that was just because I went in at such a young age. So my first bid going up there, I wasn't in a gang, right? I went in alone. I got down with the hooligans in Worcester County. So when I was in Barnstable, I wasn't with anybody. I end up getting shipped out for misbehaving. I end up in Worcester County, and that's like gangland. You got all the different gangs in there. You got outlaws, nietas, Latin kings, vice lords, Kilby Street, which is the main gang now in Worcester County. But back then, Kilby was just a street that wasn't even a gang, right? And this is one of the things I'm going to talk about today. It's a huge point for how gangs flourish inside prison and then go back out onto the street, because you bring all that shit with you to the streets, especially when you're too young to differentiate between what's the actual norm and what's the norm that they set up for you while you're in there. Like it's a much different ball game. Let me just make sure that my microphone is the right one. It isn't. Shit, I didn't even plug my fucking mic in. Hold up, guys, my bad. So I'm gonna plug my good microphone in real quick. Hold up, stay right where you are. Boom. Wow, good thing I checked in on that real quick. All right. This one should be popping up soon. It's still on this. Boom. Yeah, my mic should be popping. I don't even know, bro. I might just be stuck with this other mic right now. This is the mic that I have on my camera. I don't know if it sounds good. Let me know if it sounds good to you guys. But yeah, I wanted to use my good mic. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to switch it while it's this is why. Boom. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. Hold up. Oh, there it goes. Nice. Perfect. All right, guys, I'm here. You can hear me good. Let me know if you can hear me good. Yeah, you get desensitized fast, but it takes a minute. It takes a minute to relearn once you get out. That's an absolute fact, man. Bobby, what's good, homie? How you doing, brother? I appreciate everybody for showing up today, man. You could hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't yet. We're gonna get into a good show, man. I'm just kicking it with you guys real quick before I start talking about the main topic, which is gangs. And I've already got into it just a little bit. Respect, Leah, man, from London. We got people watching from all over the world. Real quick, drop your city in the chat. I want to know where everybody's coming from today. I want to hear. I'm right here in Boston, Cambridge today for me. But yeah, so as a young kid, right? My first bid, I go up there in the max. It was 2008, but I got locked up in 2006, right? When I got to Worcester, I had been on my own when I got there, but quickly after I got there, I started looking around and seeing who was who and who was hanging out with who and what they were doing. And there was a whole white table. When you come out for chow, there was like a whole table with just all white dudes. Now the difference was in Barnstable, there really wasn't a table like that. Race wasn't even a thing. It was a small county in Barnstable on the Cape and shit, right? They sent me to this place. It was a big city. It was a big county. There was basically everybody in I block and J block. They called it Iraq and the jungle. And those are the two blocks where they send almost every person in there is in a gang, right? You were you were a horseman, you were a hooligan, a vice lord, or a nieta, or it was basically that whole county was 5-star, right? So any gang that repped under the 5-point star was in that county, and that was the dominant gang in Worcester. And the way they ran it was like so oppressive to the white dudes that the white dudes, before the hooligans even existed, the reason why the hooligans even were created was because the oppression of the Spanish dudes onto the white dudes, right? So when you came in, if you were white, dude, they would take your package, they would take whatever possessions you had. If you didn't have nobody to back you up, like they really did thrive off that. They didn't give a shit. They'll take your shit. They had dudes going in there, sell shitting on newspapers and stuff like that. You come in with a pack, they're coming after you, bro. They're the wolves are out, bro, right? The Lilac Shetty, Fall River, Boston, Portland, Maine. You already know, man. London. Damn, there's people all over the world, bro. But salute to you guys, bro. Thank you for tapping in. So the environment in that place, right? There was microwaves in there. It was a big block, 120 cells. In the middle of the two blocks, I and J was connected. So in the middle, you had a bubble that looked this way or a bubble that looked that way. Now, the way that the cops treated us in that place, the white dudes got mad respect, right? They looked out for us. We're bringing in the smut mags. You know what I mean? This is a long time ago. 2007 is when I was there. A long time ago, right? So they were bringing in all that shit. Like it was a good time. But once that whole war popped off between the Fives and the hooligans, I got stabbed that night. And I know you guys have heard that story. I put that video up. You could go check out that video. Okay, holy yoke in Seg. Yo, you're hitting me up from Seg, bro. That's hilarious, man. Well, hopefully you get out of the hole soon, brother. Nah, but so they have they had microwaves. It was like almost like a medium security type setting. You could go out into the yard. They had handball. They had a little gym in there. It was tit. It wasn't that bad. You know, you had every drug you could think of. Like dudes had, you know, weed, crack, cigarettes. I was smoking cigarettes and real joints through my trap onto the tier. Like I could pass it out my trap, have them hit it on the tier, pass it back through the trap. Like this shit was lit. And then I was on the you don't want to hear about my Ebony magazines, bro. Stop lying, dude. Stop lying. You want to hear all about it. But yo, so they had the screen there, and there was a little hole in the screen. We could pass shit through the screen, bro. It was dope. I mean, I lived right in that thing. So anything that came from other blocks through my screen, get a little cut, like dudes will look out. So I had a little hustle. I had the store going. And what happened was, now there was the Spanish store. The Kings had the store. They were the largest gang in there. And by far, let me just point it out now that the Latin Kings in every facility I've been to have been the gang with the biggest numbers, right? Even in the max, right? That's on both sides. So they got Kings, but the Kings are on the north side, really. I have never really, yeah, I did some time on the south side before they flipped the prison around, and the south side, you know, you could have anybody from anywhere in any block. And I'm going to get into that too. That was a really crazy time where you had every gang together, right? So, but let me get through this county shit first, right? So in the county, we had a dynamic where the Kings were the dominant as far as numbers, right? And they actually had some serious dudes, tough dudes, bro. And the shit that really pissed me off was that of all the hooligans we had, right? And this is what happens when you have a gang in the county that has no restrictions on putting people down, and basically any person, unless you're on probation and you're just getting down and you haven't got your numbers yet, you can't put someone down. But anybody else can take any other person and put them down. So what happened was it got watered down so much. Every single white guy that came through the door without vetting them for, you know, seeing if they'll fight, or just whatever. Like there was probably 20 dudes still on probation. Like you should only have a certain amount of people on probation at a time, probably, so that it doesn't get out of hand. You don't get overwhelmed and flooded with all these guys that probably ain't even built for it yet. And then a war pops off like it did, and you got guys checking in left and right. But there was a core of solid ass dudes that were doing the right thing, that stayed, fought with me. But I ended up getting stabbed the first night. Like as soon as the doors cracked, I came out, and me and the head dude ended up getting into it, and he poked me up. I did knock him out, but he got me first before I got him back. I called him in the cell with the knife, not for nothing, but I told that story on a different video, so I'm gonna kind of brush past that. You guys can definitely go check that video out. It's a good one. So, and I'll put some of the links in the description after I'm done with this. I'll go straight to it and put it in there. So you click more ... and it'll be in there. But come back to the video after I'm done. So I get through the county. Now, what I learned from going through all that in the county was that when I was in there before I ended up getting stabbed, right? One of the, he was a shot caller for the hooligans. Ended up being a lame in my book at the end of the day, down the line, ended up getting beat up, right? But this dude had a chance, and he had the pull with the cops enough to get me pulled over to his block, right? And there was at least 6 of us over there, or 7 of us over there. I was the only one on this block that was left after the 6 that were there got jumped in the yard, and we're all in the hospital or in the hole at this point. And then there was the 26 others that were on the opposition that jumped my boys, and were all kept on the unit because there was no more space in the hole. So they started moving people slowly to the hole one by one, but they were so packed that even after I got stabbed, they left me in my cell for a while. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, round 2, as soon as the doors cracked, bro, this shit was crazy. Like, little motherfucker can't get your break, But I was just like, whatever, man. It is what it is. You take your cards how they're dealt to you in prison, bro. It is what it is. You got to stand on your own 10 toes. Like everybody will tell you, anybody who's been in prison, you deal with whatever comes your way on your own and hope that your boys will have your back. Not hope that your boys will have your back, and if they don't, you don't know what to do. Nah, it's you deal with that shit head on, and hopefully dudes will see your strength, and that will give them courage. Or the simple fact that you're standing up for yourself, dudes are going to want to stand up for you. You know what I mean? And that's the way it's always been, bro. Like, if you don't stick up for yourself, I'm not sticking up for you. Why would I go and stick up for someone who doesn't even want to stick up for themselves? But I don't like rats. I don't like people that are just stalked in general, that will go in and just fucking, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I don't like it. There's not, what I was about to say. It caught in my brain. We're live. I'm not going to fucking dig right into it, but it's like, certain people, they go in and they just aren't built for it, but they get down with the gang, right? It's like, you're going to go in, get down with the gang, and what do you think is going to happen? You're under the gun way worse than you were before. Like, you're not going to be able to slide by in a gang, bro. Like, if you want to go in, do your bid, and you're not about that life, you go in, chill the fuck out, mind your business, be respectful, pay attention, and you'll be all right. Like, anywhere you go, as long as you're not a rat or skinny, you're going to be straight, right? But if you go in there starting to act like a tough guy, trying to get down just to, look cool or be accepted, or be able to go home and tell everybody, look, man, I'm a gang member and I did this and that while I was locked up, and like, it all just turns out at the end of the day to be super lame. And guys are going to know anyways, bro. They're going to be like, yeah, dude, shit popped off, and this dude just stand there and watched or something. Like, it's never going to turn out like you expected, bro. Just be you in every sense of the word, wherever you are, and you'll be all right. And I truly and genuinely believe that, bro. My faith is carrying me this far. You know what I mean? It's going to keep on carrying me. Yeah, man, I'd rather have people love me for who I am than hate me for who I am and love me for who I'm not, right? But anyway, so I end up getting stabbed in Worcester County. But what I learned from that was that you can't count on anybody to be there for you. Doesn't matter if they say they're your brother or not, right? Like, this dude was trying to push his own agenda, like, by not getting me moved over there. He wanted his people to look tough because all these kids already checked in. I'm not going to check in. So fuck me, because he knows I'm going to ride out. So he's going to leave me there to make everybody look good. Like, and the thing is that it would have looked perfectly fine. It wasn't checking in or moving or doing anything weird. It was just he had the chance. The cops came to him like, hey, your boy's over there alone. You want him to come over here. The reason why I even know this is because the cop came to my window and literally was like, hey, yo, your boy's over here. And we asked him if you wanted to get moved over. And he said, man up. That was his exact words. And I was like, holy shit, like, what the fuck? But, either way, I wasn't expecting it either, because no one ever told me they were going to try to get me moved over or anything. Until the cop told me that, I didn't even know what they were trying to do. So, but I just realized, like, damn, man, it ain't about me. It's about the larger picture, which is fine with me, right? It's like, you want to represent something that's worth representing. And when everybody starts checking in, it looks fucking weird. It's like, you know, you got to have somebody that's solid. You got to be able to say that one of your people stood behind and fought the good fight. You know what I mean? Which I did. I ended up getting stabbed over it, but like, it would have felt a lot better, more brotherly, if they were worried about my well-being over, the well-being of the gang and shit, especially at such a young age. I wasn't really thinking like that. You know what I mean? They could have pulled me over, but whatever. So I get, after that big war happens, we're all sitting in the hole. They start shipping guys out of that county by busloads, right? Because they did the federal cap. I did a video. It's actually in my other video about that too. So they capped the place off. The place was so packed. They had people sleeping on bunks in the gym. They had people sleeping on floors, hallways, you name it. There was people everywhere, right? And finally, the judges were like, yo, we can't put more people in your prison. You don't even have beds for the people that are there. And they started filling buses up with 50 people at a time and sending them all over the state, right? Me and 50 guys from that county ended up in Barnstable County. And when we get over there, it was all the same people. I'm like, hey, what's up? It was the good ones, you know what I mean? I got along with them all. It was like, you do what you got to do when you're in a gang. It's nothing personal, right? It really isn't. But if there was the odds, you got to get it. And it is, but just so happens I was lucky enough to get sent over with just dudes that weren't even involved in it. It was fucking good, right? But so there was a couple actually that were kings that got sent over there too, but they weren't about that shit when they got shipped out. And that's another thing I learned, is that a lot of dudes that are in gangs only act like that when they're around their boys, right? Like, you get them away from their people, get them alone, and they're gonna be straight cowards 90% of the time. Dudes will only jump you in packs. They don't act alone. But that's with each gang too. You have some dudes and some gangs that are fucking certified, dude. They're solid. Like, the Bloods up in the Max. Those kids don't fuck around. I mean, there's different sets of Bloods and shit like that too, but that's more, I got to get into that as I go along to this story. And I'm going to get to the Max right now. So, I end up going through my county time and then getting shipped up to the Max after a bunch of I beat up a CO. It was just, I was going wild, bro. I was going him, man. I felt like I was a little warrior, and like, they put me in this environment where I could be like, violent and do whatever the fuck I wanted and not have to worry about consequences, because like, that's really what it is. You go to prison, you're already in prison. The worst they could really do is put you in the hole or give you a new case, but they weren't giving you new cases like fist fights, gang fights and shit like that. Unless you were stabbing somebody in the middle of the tier, they don't hit you off like that. Right. But, you know, I got hit off a couple times for the CO. I beat up the CO. I got 2 a day on and after. I smacked the CO with a foxtail and broke the computers. I got 3 months on and after for that. But that was only because during that time period, they were doing double bunking and they were doing riots. And there was so many court cases getting sent through to Clinton District Court that everybody's getting through. They're like, yo, dude, what do we do with all these cases? They were just giving out little numbers and shit, but trying to get little convictions on people. But lots of people, like, I was going to take it to the hoop if they try to give me too much time on and after, because it's like, fuck that, man. They're giving all these people good numbers. I was like, whatever, but they ended up giving me 3 months concurrent, and it's actually 6 months. And I had been on trial waiting for 3 months while I was still locked up. And I kind of got over on the system because 3 months of that overlapped and I got out with, like, I thought it was going to be 6 months on and after, but they gave me the 3 months time served, wait and trial. And then 3 months was on and after, whatever. It's kind of complicated, but anyways, right. So I I get sent up to the max 2008. And when I get up there, again, I'm Dolo. I was just a white dude. And that's what I learned, really. I get sent to the first block I got sent to was N2. Over there, you had a lot of older white guys, solid dudes, bro, that been around for a long, long time. They had just moved a lot of the guys from Walpole over to the max, right? Anybody that was a boyo or had ties to the boyos or sympathies to the boyos were moved to the max. And anybody that was in the Southie car, like Lynn, Dorchester, South Boston, they all stayed in Walpole and or got shipped to the south side of the max after they stopped double bunking or after they started double bunking. Sorry. Wow, my fucking tongue is tied today, huh? But so they I get to N2, and what I learned from these guys up there is that it's all about your people. Like, and I learned that in the county too. I mean, Worcester, like I said, it was, you had all the hooligans at one table, all white guys, you know what I mean? And you could only get down with the hooligans if you're white. And that's another thing, is that white gangs in prison do not take in people from other races, right? But other gangs will take in people from any race, like Bloods, Kings, Vice Lords, whatever. They're going to take white, black, Spanish, doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're down for the cause, even if they do represent a different culture or a different race. Like for instance, the Black Gangster Disciples, I've seen white Black Gangster Disciples, but you will never see a Black Aryan Brotherhood member. Like, that's just how it goes. You know what I mean? But in a lot of the times, it's not because dudes are racist. It's just because it's the accepted norm, I believe. People that I was around, there was some that were super racist. There was some that weren't. You know what I mean? It wasn't really a thing because we all just stuck to our own. White dudes were with white dudes. And that was what really scared the administration in the max, was that the white dudes really stuck together. We had every single white dude in that yard in N2P2 back in that time, '08. You could go out to that yard. There will be 50 or 60 white dudes out there. And every single one of them you could count on being a good dude and having your back in a fight. What the difference is now, you could count on at least only 5 people to be there for you in a fight, something like that breaks out, right? I mean, that's actually counting on them, right? It's different, man. It's watered down, plus the blocks are smaller. They've made it so that 2 units don't go out to the yard at the same time anymore. Whereas it used to be N2P2, L2M2 runners, like P1N1, you go out to the yard with 2 different blocks and you get to see the people on the other unit, the next block over. And they made the place super PC, bro. Like, you could hide out, burn people, run up bills, fucking, you go to one block and you won't see the people from that old block for years. Like, it's the way they run the place and the way they made it. It made it so that people can act differently and unaccordingly. Like, it never used to be able to be like that, because we had not only the ability to reach every unit with a kite within a matter of minutes, probably, right? You send it to the chow hall, you send it downstairs on the line, you send it through the toilet. However you're doing it, there was movement. You could get those kites around and make sure that if this dude owed you money on this block or he was no good down here, you write that kite and you send it down, right? So now the way they made it after the cop got stabbed is they flipped the prison around. They put all the chow hall blocks on the bottom of the prison, which is like the N1, P1, G1, J1, K1, L1, the whole bottom of the prison. Any top tier, like, so N2, P2, G2, K2, L2, whatever. Those were all the chow hall blocks. Now downstairs was the feed-in blocks. What a feed-in block is, the aggressive blocks, where they put all the guys that are allegedly aggressive or, have some type of sway in the prison or something like that. From the time I got to that place till the time I left, they kept me in feed-in blocks. I was always a menace. Like, from the time I walked through the door, I was just a young kid. And there's a reason why my name rings bells all over this state. And that's something I don't dualize. I don't get on here and big myself up or talk about myself like I'm some fucking, Don Juan or fucking, capo or something. Like, I'm just a dude. I ended up going in and making a name for myself. I put in a lot of work. I crushed a lot of dudes. I never made an excuse as to why I couldn't do it. I just did what I was supposed to do for my boys, and it was like I wanted to do it. It wasn't like I was doing it because someone was forcing me, or being like, Maddie, man, come on, man, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, why aren't you doing it? Type of shit. Nah, man. Like, I went in there with the mindset that I was, going alone and leaving alone, but at the same, and that was my first bid because I didn't even have my twin brother as my co-defendant like I did on my second bid. But when I went in there, it was like a wake up call, because the first person that introduced themselves to me was Jerry, my boy Jerry, and he had probably the most influential name of all the white guys in the whole MAC. So one of the first people I looked to as an example for how to move was him. And then when I got over to N2, I seen that there was like some older guys that, one of them used to be a boyo. One of them used to be with us. And this was before I was ever even with us, the boyos. And he had tried to step away, and I seen how dudes treated him. You know what I mean? That like he was a wash up. He was like, he was just a lame technically. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even, and he really kind of was. He was an old man at this point. He was just trying probably to go home. He was even trying to get the IPS to take the SGG off him. And out here in Massachusetts, something that's different, like from California and other places, you do not have to debrief. I don't even know if there is a process for debriefing. I've only ever heard of one person going to PC and like coming back and not being able to get in. This shit was super hilarious. Let me tell you a dumbass story real quick, right? So it was literally when I first got up there too, like L2 orientation block. That's now the kitchen block, but back then it was like an island block where they didn't go out to yard or gym with anybody else. Matter of fact, didn't even have yard or gym. It was the orientation block. And when I first walked in, the block was trashed. The lights all up in the ceiling were broken. There was black oil on the floor because all the sprinklers on the whole unit had been popped by this kid. And he had taken the CO's camel pack and his flashlight and his glasses and went around breaking shit and shining the light in the windows like, hey, take that curtain down, acting like the cop and shit, while the CO Halfrey ran off the block like, if you want to live, come with me. This shit was so fucking funny, the story that I heard when I got up there. Then the kid climbed up in the ceiling where there was a rotted part of the ceiling because Eddie Ramirez was in the STP flooding out and the water was coming through the ceiling for fucking hours and hours every day. So you had trash barrels lined up all in the front of the unit too. So the water was dripping from the ceiling into the trash barrels. So when I walk in, it's like a madhouse, bro. I'm like, geez, dude, look at this. Not only that, but when I was in booking waiting to come up, you had freeze up after freeze up coming over the airwaves, like clear all airwaves, clear all intercoms. We have an emergency. Freeze all movements. Clear all airwaves. Clear all intercoms. We have an emergency. Anybody who's been up there knows that shit, right? Freeze ups are nonstop in the max, and I was just like, what kind of shithole is this? You know what I mean? And that was my first impression. And then, my boy Jerry, I became very good friends with them. I became friends with all the boys, pretty much anybody, all the Charlestown guys, all the Somerville guys, Worcester guys. We were all in N2P2 together. Every other cell, I fought the move team after about a month on N2 because that block, like I said, was full of like old timers, bro, like straight up old timers that, I was so young. I was 19 years old. I was trying to get drunk, get in fights, make a name. Like I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to make a name for myself, but I was thinking like, if I'm going to be in here, motherfuckers are going to know me. You know what I mean? They're going to know about me, bro. Like they're going to know my name, like for good, and, I was so young that was what was cool to me. That was what was the accepted norm, was to become somebody in prison. I didn't have anything left out on the streets. You know what I mean? I felt like everybody I knew kind of either faded away or left me for dead after the first year. You know what I mean? You get in there and it's like, you get to this place now. At this point, I had already been down for about 14 months or a year or something like that. When I reached the max, I was still on a county sentence. I was one of 3 people in the entire state of Massachusetts that was so bad in the county that they sent me straight to the max. without it even being on a state bid. I was still a county convict when I reached the max, right? Now, I had no idea that was even a thing. I was waiting and booking one day in Dartmouth after I had just beat up a few of the Crips and shit. And now I'll get into that. I think I've got into that story before, but that was one of the things I went through too. I got into it. I smashed out a few of the Crips just because I knew like that was the biggest gang in Dartmouth. And if they're gonna fuck with me, like the only way to get shipped out is to turn it all against you, right? So that's what I did. I started smashing them out, and sure enough, like they were like, "Hey, what can we do, man? Like, why are you bugging out like this?" I said, "Man, you're gonna find me a new fucking home, and the next person I go after is gonna be your officers." I said, "Check my record, bro. I'm here because I smashed out a cop in my county. Like, let's do this or what's up, bro?" And he said, "You know what? Give me a day." He's like, "I'll have a new home for you, bro." And sure enough, the next day they were driving me to a place, and it was a Baranowski Correctional Center. So I definitely turned up enough to make them feel like they had to keep me in a very secure environment. And they did. They set me up there. And they thought I was going to be afraid. They thought it was going to be like, "Oh my God, why did you do that?" But when I got into booking, the cops that drove me, they were sitting there all pouty faced because I'm like, "Yo, wait, hold on. I can order a TV. I can get cheap soups. The soups are only 40 cents. Like, what?" I was psyched, bro, because I've been living in the county where you can't have shit, bro. You get dirt, nothing, and you have to make them fucking give you shit. Like, you have to make them respect you. Like, up there, it's like the canteen's cheap. You're getting TVs, you could order fans, you get tattoos. From what I heard, it was flooded on the block and shit. And I'm like, you know what? This is much better than the county, dude. Cops were like, whatever, man. See you later, bro. Hey, then the freeze ups. Before I even got up there, it was freeze ups and shit. So I get up there and I got over to N2. I fought the move team about after about a month of being over there. And I was drunk one night. I learned how to make booze. And one of the old timers, he had taught me. Matter of fact, he used to be a boil. That was the dude I'm thinking of, bro. Right. And he taught me how to make booze, fire booze, bro. Like my bottom could flip over a batch in 2 days or 3 days of like straight gas. And 2 bottles of that shit would get you hammered, bro. Like hammered. So I had learned how to make booze. And I fought the move team. I got shit faced one night and I was like, I'm going to Walpole where all the real ones are. Like I wanted to be in the action. I wanted to be in the mix, and I wanted to be able to say like, "Oh yeah, I did time in Walpole." Like I I I wanted to go where it was the worst, because if anybody else can do it, I can do it too. That was the way I've thought my whole life. I wanted to be in the worst situation, and I would put myself in the worst situations. Like as a kid, like I just get in trouble, get in trouble, get in trouble. I didn't give a fuck. I was going back to DDU over and over and over on the beginning of my second bid. The first bid, because I was on a county number for the first half of the time I was in the max, they didn't even send me to DDU because you can't get sent to DDU on a county sentence. There is no such thing for it. Like I was still on county laws. Like they kept me there on county laws. Like I didn't even get punished. Like, so I would do 30 days in the box, which is almost worse. Like you sit up there, you got just a book. You don't get a TV. You're just by yourself in a hole. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. And the max up there back then, man, holy shit, bro. The food, bro. Whew. Bro, like I'm talking about, you could go up there for 30 days and lose 35 pounds somehow. You could lose more than a pound a day. Anybody who's been in the max in your chat, yo, what about losing weight in the box back then? Holy, bro, I'm telling you, dude, like I would come out looking like Greyhound. We called it the box diet. It was like crazy. It was better than Jenny Craig. You go up there, if you had, you wanted to lose weight, go smash somebody and go to the box. You'll be coming back out of there looking thin real quick too. You know what I mean? You shed weight up there, dude. They fed you with like spoons or something. Like when they made your tray, it would be like a spoonful of food here and there. Like, dude, it was crazy. You could see the bottom of your tray, like the little corner of food. The rest of it's just empty. You know what I mean? But anyway, so that was my experience. I went up there, N2, fought the team, ended up in you'd get sacked out. Yeah. I've heard stories about the soy burgers. Man, the soy burger is nothing, dude, right? It's just about the portions were so small that there's no way you could survive off them every single night. If you have never gone to sleep hungry like that before, you just couldn't even understand what I'm talking about. But if you have ever starved, like truly starved, where you have just eaten barely enough to survive for a good amount of time, then you know that feeling, going to sleep dreaming about food or thinking about food, and your mouth could be watering, dude. Like you could smell, like, like when you go into the streets, you could smell like the food in the air. Like, you, in my head, that's what I fucking smelled, bro. Right. But like, it said, yo, bro, dudes were coming back from the box, look like they went back to the streets on a bender. Fact, bro. Like, you'd go in there, you'd come out looking like you were strung out, dude. This shit was so bad, bro. You couldn't even work out because you go up there working out. Now, I did work out because I felt like I always had to stay in shape. Like, I always wanted to be on top of my game. But it was more detrimental than good because you'd be shedding so much weight. You shed your muscle weight too. But anyways, right? So I went over to P2 after that, right? After I fought the move team, I went to the box and I come out, I go to P2, and that's where I kind of like started getting on my feet and, getting accustomed and just getting used to the max in general. It's not an easy environment to get used to. I mean, it's super hostile. You got, especially for a young kid who's never done time, like you got to take it slow, observe, you know what I mean? See how people move. And that was the truth. Like you watch and you learn, bro. You keep your mouth shut, you just watch and you learn. And if you didn't, you probably were the one, you were learning a lesson a different type of way, because you were going to learn one way or the other. You get smashed out or stabbed, or you could learn by listening and taking the advice of your peers. Because my peers, the white dudes, right? I was lucky to come in to the max with the group of dudes that I did come into the max with. I'm talking about really good dudes, bro. Like, I won't display all their names, but like, few of them are gone, few of them still here, but like Ricky, Brian Moquin, who's passed away. But you had a bunch of dudes, my boy Nitty that I was talking about in the podcast the other day that I took down. But fucking you just have, you had so many good dudes. Every single other cell was a white dude, literally on the flats and on the top tier in P2. That whole block was solid, dude. Like, you had George. Man, dude, there was so many good dudes. Flinny. There was so many good dudes over there, and almost every single one of those dudes was a boyo. Now, back then, we didn't talk about it. There was no like, hey, I'm a boyo, what's up? Like, it wasn't like you put the tat on you, like it wasn't like that. It was more like a secretive thing. It was almost like, you're a boyo. It doesn't need to be said. If another boyo sees you, he'll know, because we all know each other, right? It was like a family. It was friends that were like closer than friends. We had each other's backs no matter what, but in a different type of way, like different than a gang where it was like a structured thing where dudes would be like, handing down violations for not doing shit, or fucking sending missions and sending orders, or if you were on the lower end taking the orders, or whatever the fucking shit is, dude, right? Like, I would have never been part of nothing like that, bro. I'm not taking orders from another man. And I know there's a lot of people out there like that, but it's like, and you don't always get the choice, but there's an allure in getting down with a gang that has a shot caller. There's an allure to getting down with a gang with the structured ranking system, because you have a way to move up, and that rank displays your reputation, or it should, if you're in the right gang with the right movement. You know what I mean? The way I seen it happen with the C dubs, it was wild to me, because you had solid dudes that were already running with solid cars, right? Like, and we'll call it cars for the sake of this. Like, it would be a gang technically. If you were a cop, you're going to look at it like this is a gang, but really it was cliques of people. And there's so many different reasons why people go in there and join gangs. And one of them, I guess, the mainstream thing that everybody thinks of is protection, right? And I guess deep down, I guess a lot of people probably might still do that, or might still be doing that, right? But I didn't feel that in there. Like, I felt like the reason why I got down was not protection, but acceptance. You know what I mean? You want to be accepted, and you want the people that are you're with to know you're fully with them too, as well as they're with you. You know what I mean? You want those people to be able to trust in you, rely on you, and you know, in order to kind of prove that, it's like, yeah, I'm with it. You know what I mean? Like, who am I to say I'm better than that? I'm gonna ride for you anyways. Yeah, what's up? Let's do it. Like, and that's what really kind of happened with me. You know what I mean? Like, I just my boys was like, yeah, it's family, Leah. You know what I mean? It really does. It becomes your family, and it's like in war, right? You go to war, you go overseas, and you're in the hostilities with, and the only people you can rely on are those right on your right and those on your left, and the ones right behind you. The ones in front of you are trying to kill you. Now, there's more of them than you. What do? You get more of you than them, or you try to even the odds a little bit, right? And in prison, especially in the max, there's definitely other entities that if you're not with somebody, that they could technically take advantage. But the fact is that white dudes stick together regardless of gang, right? When it comes to us versus anybody, any other race, any other entity, the cops, whatever it is, we stick together, right? And because we're in a minority, and because and now that's not all the time either, because back then in P2 N2 where I was, it felt like the white dudes were dominant. We had more white dudes over there than any other race. It was crazy to me. And that's why, as a young person, I always thought there was more white people in prison than any other race, because I'm thinking, man, there's way more white dudes here. But then as things moved along, I realized, like, when they started splitting us up and putting us in other blocks because they didn't like how unified we were. And the fact is that whenever something popped off, it was the white dudes pushing the craziness. We were like, let's tear shit up. Let's do this. Crazy white guys, right? Like, the white dudes were really crazy, but we had like a mindset for it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyways, right? When I first got up there, that was what it was like. And I got the best prison schooling from the the illest people, man. Like, even till this day, right? There's some of these guys are still out here on the streets right now, doing really good. But while we were in prison together, they were extremely savage. You know what I mean? Like, they adapted to their surroundings and overcame what they had to overcome while you're in there, right? And it's it really irks me that. And all right, let me put it like this, right? And this is I'll get to what irks me, right? So I was going to court one day, and it was from the max. I was getting driven by county vans because I was still on a T number, right? So I'm getting driven by the county van. I get to the court, and I can hear the court officers talking to the transport officers. And I had just been in a fight. My hand was all swollen. I had the red jumpsuit on, and they were explaining to the court officers that I had been in a fight, and they started talking about the fact that I was in the hole and shit, and what it's like in the max, according to them and what they see, right? And what they said was, oh, well, in the max, you don't get a choice. You have to fight, or you have to be in a gang. 98% of the people in the max are in a gang, right? And this is what they said. And honestly, it could be true. It could be close to true. I don't know about 98% of people, but a good majority of people that are in the max are in gangs. Now, who runs it? Who's the top gang in the max? Let me break that down a little bit, right? So, the dynamic between the white dudes, the Spanish dudes, the black dudes is one of respect, right? We have to respect each other, because each one of those groups of people, if they went to war with the other one, it would be a large casualty situation, right? It's not just going to happen and one side's going to walk away totally unscathed. No way. Especially not with the white dudes. And dudes know white dudes push the blade, bro, right? And especially when we got drunk, you got people locking in, closing their doors, fucking running for their hills, bro. Guys did not want problems with the white dudes because they knew, like, we go above and beyond, especially when it comes to violence. And we're smart. Like, we have ways to do this that'll be ultra hurt. Like, it'll get, it'll hurt you. You know what I mean? Mentally, physically, all that, bro, right? But there was groups of dudes that definitely had more sway than others, depending on what block you were in, right? So on the north side, the dominant gangs on the north side were the boyos for white dudes, because, and I'll tell you why, right? Because we had respect, right? We had all the guys that you would know from the streets, all the big names, people that already carried respect before they ever got down with the gang, right? That's another aspect I feel like is very important when it comes to what gangs get respect, what gangs pull weight. And it's not the gang name, but the name that you bring to the gang, right? And those people are what really give you that strength and that respect, right? If you have to get it the other way around, it's whack. You know what I mean? If you're going into something hoping that you're going to get respect for being that something, whack, bro, right? You have to bring it to them, right? Anything that you are, you bring it with you, right? And you have to be a certain type of follower in order to do that as well. Like, and I'm not everybody's a follower in their own sense of the word, right? But you have to be a convict, right? You have to, abide by the laws and the codes of the joint. And now the reason why that's so serious too, especially amongst us white dudes, is that a lot of us have already shed blood for it. A lot of us are sitting in prison because we didn't drop fucking dimes on people. We did not rat on the next man. And we're doing our time like men. And a lot of us have already shed blood for the cause or for that group of people, or they put in a lot of work, man. And it's just to maintain your reputation, a lot of work, right? And when somebody goes against that and does it, it's like, man, fuck them, bro. Like, they don't get to do that and get the same respect as somebody who doesn't, right? You know what I mean? That's what makes it so important to most people, I think, in my eyes. Anyways, like, yo, I went my whole life without telling him, my whole life doing the right thing, and he doesn't get to do that and walk around. No way, right? So that's the way we look at it. And I mean, there's definitely other reasons, like who the fuck wouldn't get mad about, you know what I mean? But yeah, so anyways, I'm getting off track. So I get over to P2 and I get to learn, the max in just prison politics from the leading guys in the joint, right? Like, these dudes were all good dudes and they had, a heart, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Massachusetts is different on a bunch of levels. Like, even the serious killers have a heart. Like, for the younger dudes coming in, like, they want to show you the right way. They want to point you in the right direction, because you could either build somebody up or break them down early. You know what I mean? You could build them down. You could break them down and build them up too. But like, you really got to pull someone in, make them feel accepted before you start breaking them down to make them into whatever mold that you want them to be in. But prison is a master manipulator ground. Like, and once you get it down to a science to how to make people do for you what you want them to do, it's not always like a conscious decision. You're doing these things subconsciously. And it's like, I don't know. For me, it just came so natural. Like, prison was a science. You get it a certain way, and you just, is what it is. I don't know. I'm getting lost for words right now. How's everybody doing, man? I'm gonna take a little break from fucking spewing. Racism is a word taken out of context to always put whites down and make them feel low, never feel bad for what is the truth around them. I guess so, and I don't like to get into race or religion or politics and shit like that. Maddie, bro, your channel is getting me through some shit. You're a beast, bro. Keep that fire content coming, man. Thank you, Robert, man. I appreciate that. And just on that point alone, it's not always easy for me. Like, today, I got a lot of things on my mind, right? Which is like why I keep on, why I might not be the same as I always am, right? So, like, you go through things in life, and like, I come in here and I'm getting on here and doing this, and I have distractions too. I have things going on in my personal life, and I have a baby on the way. I'm doing the best I can to not get locked back up for probation. Um, and that is like, that's hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an easy task to make it through probation. You don't have to commit a crime to go back. All you have to do is get a dirty urine. So me staying clean and sober is my biggest flex. You know what I mean? me staying free is my biggest flex. Like, I just it's not easy. You know what I mean? And I have not gone this long in my entire life ever free since I've got wrapped up in the system anyway, since I started getting incarcerated, right? But yeah, man, it's a thin line. You already know, man. Appreciate you, baby. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. I'm hoping it's a boy. But yeah, man, thank you. So yeah, I'll keep on going, right? So anyways, I get to when I'm in P2, I'm over there for a good amount of time. It was a good time too. Like I was just drinking. We made sandwiches every other night. We make a different meal. And every week, what we do is each one of us, now there might have been 10, 15 of us at that time, maybe even more, that were a really tight circle. Like we all chill. We had a whole football team of dudes that you could actually count on, right? Like really good dudes on that block, right? And we ate together. What we did was each week, one of us would order things for BAMs, the other one would order things for a mix, a nacho meal, and so on. Like each person would order all the ingredients for a certain meal, and then we would cook and we would all throw in and eat 2 or 3 times a week a big meal and come together on this food. Like, and that was one of the things that make you feel so close and like you have family. And we don't have a home to go to at nighttime. This is our home, and it is what you make it. Right. So the people around you make it either really good or really bad. If you got really solid dudes around you, solid dudes, bro, they can make your bid fly by and actually keep you in the right state of mind, not to get lost on the streets in your thoughts, or if your girl's acting up and you're going through some shit, or somebody passes away on the streets, we're gonna come to you and comfort you, bro, and try to make it so that you don't suffer as much as you normally would all alone, right? And it can be a lonely thing, like being in prison. Even when you are surrounded by all these people that call themselves your brother or whatever, you can still feel really alone at times. You know what I mean? Especially if you're going through something and you don't feel comfortable talking about the death of your mother, or the loss of your brother, or the overdose of this person, or whatever it is you're going through at the time that you lost somebody on the streets, or one of your family gets cancer, something like that, and you just don't feel comfortable talking about it emotionally with other men. It could be a lonely period of time, but guys pick up on it and they'll see like, yo, you all right, bro? You going through some shit? And try to throw them a cup of coffee or a piece of Suboxone and try to take them off that misery train that they're on, man, fucking leading to nowhere, and pull you out of it. Cause that's really what it is. You got to be surrounded by the right people, because they could take you out of that misery, man, real quick. But I get sent from that block. I was over there for a while. We had been going out to play football, and one day we go out and we play football, right? And I had a batch in my mattress. It was this kid's birthday coming up soon, and I was getting I made like a 20 something bottle batch. This shit was so big it didn't even fit in my toilet to cook it. So I had to take hot water bottles and I would put it in my mattress, and I would put it in my mattress around the batch, so the heat from the water bottles would like be like heat stones and cook the batch. You know what I mean? But the thing hadn't been blowing up well. So I ended up going out to yard thinking it'll be all right. I had a double stuffed mattress. Like I took another mattress and I ripped it open and I put it two of the stuffing matches in mine, right? So I had a big fluffy mattress, right? And I go out to yard. When I come back, Phelps, he's now like the captain of the Ips or even higher. I don't know where he is now, bro. Right. But like, so I come back in and they're grabbing me, put me in handcuffs. I'm like, these motherfuckers, they lug me for a batch. Nowadays, you don't even get lugged. You'll get put on AA. They might not even flush it. Like if they even do anything at all, you might just get put on AA. Right. But back then drugs were an offense. Like you get charged the money and you're going to get lugged, and you're going to go through the whole, recycling thing, back through the orientation unit, back to your quay. But, and that's another thing they changed now, where a big difference is you go to the hole and now you come right back to your block. You don't even get to go to the stomping grounds where you might see the smoke, or you might run into this person or that person. Like orientation unit, that was the battlegrounds. That was the in-between grounds where you could run into anybody and you never know who you were going to see down there, bro. Like it was some shit, popping off in those orientation blocks all the time. It was always locked down over there, and they didn't have yard or gym in them blocks. It sucked, right? But now you'll go to the box. When you get out of the box, you go straight back to your block with the same people, whether you're the victor or the loser, depending on, whether you go back or you don't. Sometimes they fuck up and they send the victor back thinking that he's the right person to send back, and he gets smashed out and sent out, and then they bring the loser back. Like, it's fucking funny, right? But because they don't know what's going on. But P2 was the most solid block I was ever on. I'm going to tell you another story about P2. It always just ended up being a solid block, right? Fast forward a bunch of time. I'm going to skip over a little part of my bid because this story right here just displays what it's like in the max. And underneath it was a white block, and it was something that happened with white dudes, right? So it shows you how solid we kept it, right? So Shavink and this kid get into a beef. He had a black eye, and they can't, I think Shavink had some fucked up knuckles, but it went undiscovered for a few days. I don't know if they could even found out by knuckle checks, right? Because usually they'll come around and look at everybody's knuckles to see if you have cuts on them, and they'll take you out of there if you're one of them people that were involved, right? So they came around, did knuckle checks, and didn't find nothing. So they're like, pulling people out to the IPS office to see if they're gonna snitch, right? One after the other, dude. But this is the thing, right? When this happened this time, they get to the first cell, and the dude refused to come out. So everybody in line sees like, oh, this dude refused to come out. Now my boy Big Show and the kid he was his cellie, the kid that got into the fight that got the black eye, Big Show was his cellie. He was in the second cell. Bro, they get to his cell. He refuses to come out too. Third cell. Guy sees the trend. I'm refusing too. Right? Nobody came out. Dude, they were so pissed, right? They kept us locked down for more than a week while they reviewed that footage. They must have had to review hours and hours and hours of footage because no one told, bro. They must have been so pissed, but it was hilarious, bro, right? Because nobody told. That was the most solid block I ever been on, bro, right? Now, one rat, dude, right? And the only way they found out was because they reviewed the camera footage. But yeah, man, that's like the power of, influence of the prison. And it's what everybody wants to do in the first place. We all want to, unless you're a snitch, but we all wanted to be like, fuck that. We're not talking to you. You know what I mean? Every time. But it's just like, you do that, you get lugged when really guys got things going on. They're making money. All you have to do is go in there, say, I'm not, I have nothing to say, and then leave. And you could see, right, when you go in there, now there's windows when you go to talk to the yips. There's windows. You go in there, and I don't want to even see you open your mouth. I just go like this. Nope. Am I good? Like, yeah, I'm good. They'll try to ask you, how's your mother? How's your brother? Like, yeah, we're good. Am I good? Like, I nothing to say to you. And then you leave, right? They only want a couple of seconds, and everybody does it. You know what I mean? It's just like, whatever. It's one of those accepted things that people do, but shouldn't have to. You know what I mean? Because you shouldn't have to go into any room without your lawyer's presence to speak to somebody that they could turn around and say you said whatever, especially if you have an open case or a murder trial going on. What if they try to say you admitted to the murder or something? Like, they're not allowed to do that shit. They shouldn't be allowed to it, but they get away with whatever they want to up there. Is, another one of those fucked up things about prison. But yeah, man. So I ended up getting sent to the South Side. Now, when I was in the South Side, that's when I got introduced to all the Southie guys. Like, this was after double bunking came through, and the first time I got sent over there, they had just the bunks on the walls. There still wasn't people in them. It was unreal to us. Like, we didn't even think it would actually happen. Like, they're gonna put people in these bunks. Like, nah, it's all just a front. They're lying. But when I got over there and I seen the bunks and the walls, my boy Blinky had just been in a big riot in the Chow Hall. They took the Chow Hall hostage and beat up this Jamaican kid that was trying to like escape out of there. It was fucking crazy. But they ripped off, they have those things that you pull, the grates that you pull over like jewelry store windows and shit. They have those over the Chow Hall windows. Like, they pulled them down from behind to like keep people from getting into the back of the kitchen, and they ripped those off. They ripped the clocks off. They had the National Guard there. And when I got over, it was right after this all happened. And, it was real. It was like, yeah, they're doing this. They're putting people in these bunks. It's about to get turned up in this bitch, right? No one's taking those double bunks, bro. So I get into one of these cells, and yeah, double bunking was real, but I met all the Southie guys, and like I'm a Boyle, and technically they say, you know, Boyles and Southie guys got beat, but it's not like that. I was over there with my boy Benny Michaud, who was a Boyle, and this was like the beginning of me getting recruited back then, was when I went there that time, because Benny was my guy. He was a good dude. Ended up in the feds for a long time. Was boy Sparky, couple, like, you know, they had the Boyle task force scout on the streets out here chasing us down, fucking for bank robberies and shit like that. And you know, it's not like that anymore. Kind of glad, you know, I'm not trying to be involved in that shit, but you know, that's how it was, you know. And but I go over there with Benny, and he was giving me books like Might is Right and Survival of the Fittest by Ragnar Redbeard. It was almost like we've all been indoctrinated and we don't even know it's indoctrination, right? Like he's giving me these books because he was given those books by an older convict and showing the way, right? And I'm giving those books to the younger ones when I got up there in age and in wisdom in prison, right? I'm giving the same book down to people. Like it's like, you know, the culture hands down to the next man. Like the way we're taught, we teach the next man. But the way things changed in prison now, man, you can't even give good advice to these kids, bro. Like I said before, they get respect for having no respect for the next man, bro, which is wicked whack to me, if you ask me, bro. But um, yeah, bro, this shit's I'm a little bit over an hour right now. I don't want to make them too long, guys. I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, there's plenty of stories. I'm gonna keep on telling you guys stories for days, man. But I'm gonna get into some more things actually real quick just to wrap it up. But you know, one of the things that I've learned from being in a gang in the Max and just overall being in prison and the way things are in there is that loyalty is earned. Respect is earned. You cannot expect those around you to ride for you if you're not willing to ride for yourself, right? So that's what I was taught, is to be the example. Never ask somebody else to do something that you won't do yourself, right? And I've seen from guys that do hold weight that that's not always the case. I don't think they're always willing and ready to accept the consequences for the things that they're asking other people to do. But and that's food for thought, bro. If you're going in there and you're gonna be getting in a gang, man, just in that, and you that's a gang with, you know, structure. The way they break it down, like I said, the C dubs, the way they broke it down, like you know, they have a ranking system, and the what the allure is to that ranking system is that you can earn your stripes in that rank displays your reputation or whatever. That's what it was supposed to be like. And then at one point, you're going to be able to give orders and tell other people what to do if that's your thing, right? Like that never was my thing. I don't give a shit what you do. I just want to fucking be around good dudes, solid dudes, and do my big comfy. Like that's my goal. You know what I mean? But man, yeah, Sparky, you haven't heard his name in a while, bro. He was probably one of the more serious dudes. He's doing a good thing out here, bro. And like that's another really big another person that I could say overcame that W number in a big way is Sparky, bro. He's out here tatting, he's doing the right thing, did a million years, you know, always kept it solid, and you know, made a big reputation for himself, but has somehow figured out a way out here now. And that's all you could ask for somebody. All I want to see for other people in my shoes is that they're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Living a good life, making the money they need to feed their family, um, trying to be a positive influence on the people around them. And that's it, man. That's all you could really ask for, you know? What a butthole I am. Why are you a butthole, Tyler? Oh shit. I lied to cops. Man, if you're not lying to cops, you shouldn't be talking to them. You know what I mean? Fuck that. But if you don't mind posting that link for Borders. Oh yeah, so please, real quick, while we're here during this live now, we have people that want to send books to guys in the Max, that want to send money to people in the feds, want to send things to people, right? What this person right here is looking for is the link to Borders, right? That's so that she can order books for the people who are in there, right? Let me look for that link right now. It's only 7:30. I guess I have another half hour. Borders. Barnes and Nobles. Oh, you can also use Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, I can go 12 hours. Yo, Dusty, can you help me out real quick and get um the link for oh, this is Borders to accept all cookies. You could go right here on Barnes and Nobles. Shit, there's a green screen behind me. You could go right on here on Barnes and Nobles. I don't know how to post this link. I'm still fucking new to this internet shit. I know. I'm a person that's figured out how to edit videos, post videos, make reels, have studied interviews, have studied social media, went to college for social media, but still have a fucking hard time doing certain things on the internet. It's crazy, right? Borders, hey man, whoever could help me out, Barnes and Nobles, Borders, these are the places that you can order from. You just go to the website, type in Barnes and Nobles on your phone or Barnes and Nobles on your computer, and you can order whatever you want right there. From books, notebooks, calendars, magazines, you name it. You can order whatever you want right on there. Oh, also, I'm going to put my email address right here. So that anybody with a story can hit me up and we could get this going, because the W Number podcast is the way, bro. This is my life work, bro. This is my life's mission. And I put my heart and soul into this shit. Not just for me, but for you guys, right? That's simple. There's nothing else need to be said on it. Not just for me, but for you. Word. Yeah, no problem, Leah. And if you want, you could send, this is how you send money to the feds. So Western Union, you download the app right here. This is the app right here. Western Union, right? Now, okay, link right here. Hardcover. So now let me tell you, right? Hardcover books are not allowed in the hole or segregation. So if you order hardcover books, they're going to have to tear the covers off of them to give them to the people if they go to the box. A lot of people will just say, leave them in my property because I don't need them up here. I don't want to ruin the book, but that's the only place you're going to really read it while you're sitting in the box. You know what I mean? So try to get them soft cover. If you can't, you can't. You know what I mean? They'll rip the cover off, whatever. No big loss, right? You're in prison. The fuck does it matter if you have a cover on your book, right? But I like to have my books looking nice. You know what I mean? My property that I did have, because let's face it, when you're in there, what you do have, very minimal. You want it to be nice. You want to keep it fresh. Like, it is what it is. Even if it's a book, to me, in my eyes, I don't want to rip my books up. Those books cost money. My family pays for that shit, right? And when you go to prison, and that's another thing too, I wanted to talk about, and I didn't get to it, man. That's what happens when you're alive. When you're alive, sometimes you don't plan it out like that. It just comes out however it is, right? But on the edited videos, I have a plan, a plot. I can go back, edit, put something else in there that I missed, whatever, and make it a complete video. But so right now, luckily, I'm still alive and I can get into it, right? When you're in there, and now I fucking lost the point. I'm a mess. So when you're in there, and what the fuck was I gonna say? Whatever. It must not have been that important. Oh, it was one of the things was, the reason why people join gangs a lot, or when they're in there, man, it was something to do with the reel I made earlier. So I made a reel, right? Now, this is an interesting story. Let me pull this up. Actually, I could actually show you this story while I'm on here because I'm on my own computer. Hold up. Um, what is it? Oh shit! Wow, I'm having a straight up fucking day right now, bro. Bro, I found this crazy story online, man. Allow me to break it. So, oh, the Monopoly thing. Yes, that's what it is. All right, hold up. I'm gonna share this with you real quick. This shit's pretty crazy, right? Boom. Watch this. Hold on. Let me. There's a better one out there. Hold on. This one right here. Right. All right. Let me go back here and share this with you. Dude, check this out, right? Boom. Okay. You see this, right? Leader of an international drug gang sentenced for trafficking fentanyl and methamphetamine while incarcerated, right? So Boston, on an influential leader of a large-scale international gang based in southern Arizona, was sentenced today in federal court in Boston for attempting to facilitate the trafficking of narcotics into Massachusetts via inmate phone calls while serving 4 concurrent life sentences. Noel Harrow, 50, was sentenced by U.S. Senior District Court Judge William G. Young to 188 months in prison to be served concurrent to the life sentences he is currently serving at the Massachusetts Department of Correction. So he must be here now, right? If anybody knows any family locked up with this guy, I want to talk to him. But so the court also imposed 5 years of supervised release. What the fuck would that matter, dude? He's doing a life sentence, 4 life sentences or consecutive life sentences or some shit, right? On March 11, 2025, Harrow pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute and to possess with the intent to distribute 50 grams or more of methamphetamine and 40 grams or more of fentanyl, 2 counts of distribution of possession with intent to distribute 50 grams or more, blah, blah, blah. But in quotes here, it says, even behind bars, Noel Harrow continued to direct the operations of an international drug trafficking network and peddle poison into our communities. This level of audacity is precisely why we remain vigilant in dismantling drug trafficking networks at every level. But let me tell you something, man. This level of audacity, what kind of audacity is it really? You put people in prison, give them no way to make money, and make them rely entirely on their family, give them no options or availabilities to create a life that's better for themselves, even behind the wall. You put them in the most harsh conditions, in the most hostile environment, and give them little to nothing. Most likely, they'll be in and out of segregation, fucking living a shit fuck life, right? And there's a way to make money and there's a way to get rich, support your family, and do all that. And you're not going to lose anything else more than what you're already losing. Now, the government just created that scenario and then acted like the heroes for stopping this guy from, dealing drugs into the community. Well, I bet you any money the United States of America is bringing more drugs into this country than this guy ever did, right? From his prison cell. But and that's another thing is he's just like a cog in the machine. He figured out a way to do something or something, right? But he used the Monopoly card and was using code like, so you keep the score in the Monopoly, like he was using code for like, he circle a certain score and like 167 would be meth or 155 would be fentanyl or whatever it was, right? And he would send these score sheets like Monopoly scorecards to his distributor, and that would be what he's sending to certain states. Like this card's for Massachusetts, this card's for there, and like it would be hard to pick up on that code, but like somebody obviously picked up on it along the way.
and ended up telling on the whole operation. So while locked up for life, Noharo thought he had nothing more to lose, so he used his get out of jail free card. Literally to solicit help in trafficking deadly fentanyl. Now, I don't support the distribution of fentanyl. I think that it is now, someone's going to, at least one person's going to die off of every pack. I feel like, right? Like, so many people are dying. I cannot condone the use or sale of fentanyl. It's not like I need to, anyways. I'm not helping bring them down, but I'm not going to help them build them up either, right? For a long time in my life, um, I'll stop sharing this for a second because I got something else to talk about. For a long time in my life, I have idolized and looked up to those who made millions off selling drugs, those who were the most ruthless gang leaders. I wanted to be that dude kneecapping motherfuckers for a boss. I wanted to be the boss. Sorry. I wanted to kneecap you and then become the boss myself and then tell you to kneecap them for my money. I wanted to be the most ruthless person I could imagine. But that's what I thought was cool. That's what I had no conscience when it came to it, because that's what it was. You know what I mean? That was the way we thought out there. You know what I mean? But looking at it now, it's because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have the knowledge or the wisdom as at that age to stop myself from thinking like that. I didn't understand the damage it would cause to my life either, because I saw in the movies and I saw, you know, I heard in the stories from my friends and from the people on the street that I ran with, like that, you know, people were getting away with it. And there are those kingpins living luxuriously in mansions someplace, but it'll never be you. You want to know why? Because those people are like government plants, straight up rats. So if you're willing to rat and be a scumbag, go ahead. It might be you, right? But it was never me. I could not get away with crimes. Like, it was like, I'm the worst criminal out there. You know what I mean? I'm the worst type of criminal. Like, I stick out like a sore thumb. When the cops try to question, I get belligerent and tell them to go fuck themselves rather than just shutting up and being like, I don't know what you're talking about, officer. I'd be like, fuck you, motherfucker, prove it. Like, you know what I mean? I was the biggest asshole, but like, it was just like, and that goes along with the same mindset and theory. Like, these kids getting respect for having no respect now. Like, I had respect for the code and respect for my boys and respect for like the streets and like our way, but I had no respect for anything else. You know what I mean? But in order to, be a smooth criminal, you have to be able to blend in with the rest of society as well. You know what I mean? And I didn't do that very well. There are those that do it. You know what I mean? But it's not me and it's not going to be you, bro. Look, you could try to be a master criminal your whole life and never succeed. But the what it means to fail is you're never leaving prison or you're dead, right? That's failing to become, a top tier criminal. Like, that's failing to become the boss you thought you wanted to be, right? But failing at life to become a successful entrepreneur or failing at life to become a successful businessman, at least you land somewhere amongst the weeds where you still have a fighting chance. You know what I mean? Pick a better fucking hustle. That's all I gotta say, man. W number. Ow!